are on the verge of receiving their crown. The presentation of the trophy that every professional in England longs to win, the ultimate recognition of their consistency, will take place in a few moments prior to today's final match here against Norwich City. It's been a 9-month marathon in all weathers, 42 games, everyone a challenge to their skill and determination, and Leeds have met the challenges masterfully. The talk here at Ellen Road so often of past glories of the 60s and the early 70s, the Don Revie era, but now the team of the 90s has turned the attention away from the past. Howard Wilkinson will surely never feel a prouder man. He's lifted Leeds United. Out here, very close to supporters. The older ones have been through this before, but would wonder whether the glory days would ever come again. 18 years since Leeds last won the trophy. Successful in this most demanding championship in '69, in '74, and now in 1992. Of the regulars in such a splendid season, only Mel Sterland has missed the run-in. John Newsome has certainly looked the part in his place. Gordon Strachan has been suffering from sciatica, so he's only a substitute today, but the Football League have given him permission to retain his usual number 7. Eric Cantona will start wearing number 14. Essentially, it has been a team effort, but Tony Dorigo has been singled out by the supporters as their player of the season, and Gary Speed has been picked out by Howard Wilkinson himself as the manager's performer of the year. Norwich City's manager, Dave Stringer, resigned yesterday. The side under the control of the assistant, David Williams. He brings in Robert Ullathorne and Andy Johnson on his 18th birthday for Mark Bowen, who was hurt playing for Wales on Wednesday, and striker Darren Beckford, who's also injured. Norwich are virtually safe from relegation. Their goal difference is 17 better than Luton, who could in theory catch them. So just in case Mark Walton, the goalkeeper, is injured or sent off, David Williams has taken an unusual step of naming another keeper as a substitute. Jerry Payton on loan from Everton, ready if needed, after representing the Republic of Ireland against the United States 3 days ago. Dave Stringer is here. He has been offered another job with Norwich City, a place perhaps on the board, but he's felt that after 4.5 years in which he's done so much, taken Norwich to 2 FA Cup semi-finals, including this season, their highest league placing, 4th in 1989, it's time for someone else to take over. Roger Milford is wondering whether this is his last match at this level in the league. It's not been easy to get tickets, but it's a day to take a chance and climb on the roof if you can, to watch Leeds United see out their championship season. Roger Milford just checking out how much Eric Cantona's English has improved in the short time he's been here. The Frenchman has agreed a 3-year contract after initially coming to England on a loan. Well, can Leeds put on a festival of football now that the formalities are over? Norwich, who seemed so stunned by their FA Cup semi-final loss to Sunderland, have taken only 1 point from their last 7 games. Cantona has struck it just behind the ball, swerving back into play, having crossed the line. Apart from anything else, Leeds are defending an unbeaten home record here in the league. They'd love to complete the season with that intact, but above all else, there's a chance to put on a show here for their supporters. Not that long ago, a section of those fans were giving the club a bad name, but collectively they've all played their part properly in this marvellous time for Leeds United. Here's Andy Johnson, Rule Fox on the right-hand side. Rob Newman's got into the middle, and it came off the head of Newsome. Chris Whyte cleared and indicated to John Lukić that perhaps he didn't get the call that the goalkeeper should have given him. Cantona. Speed. Here's McAllister. Chapman ahead of him. Cantona is there as well. David Phillips showing his versatility, playing at left back. And Culverhouse is at right back, with Norwich opting to play with an orthodox system of defending. They have been using the sweeper plan. Certainly in the middle of the season, you wouldn't have expected them to be down close to the dead men, because they've got rightly a reputation as a side who can pass the ball well and who are usually pleasing to watch. And I can tell you they're pleased. There's Robert Fleck, who is their leading scorer with 19 goals, that they are delighted to be part of the show here, and I'm sure they'll be stimulated by the atmosphere. There'll be plenty of clubs on this final Saturday of the 91-92 season just playing out a final game with not too much at stake. Well, barring a total collapse, Norwich are safe, but the element of atmosphere is so apparent here, and players love an audience. Whyte, McAllister. Batty, one of a number of Leeds players hoping to not end the season with the finish of the club commitments, with England going to Sweden. Oh, Newsome lets the ball get under his foot. Here's Ullathorne, who comes from Yorkshire. Phillips. Blocked by Fairclough. John Lukić, who's played in every game, just as he did when Arsenal won the title 3 years ago. Kicking right down the centre, and Chapman for once wasn't there. Fox. When the sides met earlier this season at Carrow Road, it finished 2-2. McAllister lifting it away from Phillips. Aiming for Cantona, and there was an infringement by the Frenchman. Walton was a little uncertain coming off his line. And a push by Cantona on Paul Blades. Whyte. Here's Ullathorne. Johnson, who's still on the YTS scheme, the trainee scheme at Carrow Road. Well, he will sign the full professional forms in the summer. Speed matching the run of Jeremy Goss. Andy Johnson, I'm sure many of you seeing him for the first time. He played one league game earlier this month away to Sheffield Wednesday. Polston's header. Cantona. Oh, the linesman has flagged. In any case, Chapman couldn't take the chance. Fleck easily dispossessed by Whyte. Oh, and he very nearly got it through to Wallace. There would have been concern for Norwich City then. Dorigo. Wallace lines up the shot. Cleared by Johnson into the hole that was vacated by Dorigo, but Whyte was across. Speed. And this is what the crowd have come to see in their thousands. I'm sure Howard Wilkinson, who is normally a man who demands discipline, will accept a little self-indulgence today. Really, the very fact that he's shown a touch of sentimentality by allowing Gordon Strachan to be part of the 13, although Strachan is not really fit for football at this level. Gordon's words to me before he came out to get the trophy was, "I'll come on when the battle has died down a bit." Batty. David Batty arrived at the ground today with a huge bouquet of flowers in his arms. Something of a change of image for one of the game's great competitors. Goss, who played for Wales in midweek, as did David Phillips. It was a friendly international against Austria. Seven minutes gone at Elland Road. And the crowd were in very early to make sure they didn't miss a moment of the game presentations, to be able to say, we were here the day Leeds United got their hands back on the trophy after an 18-year gap, and after some troubled years when they were finding it hard to stay in the second division. And along came Howard Wilkinson with his magic wand. Phillips. Goss. McAllister, who certainly believes now that he made the right move. A number of clubs after his services when he left Leicester City. And Leeds have got the best out of the Scottish international. Chapman, now Cantona, Wallace, and he was very nearly found on the inside then, which would have led to a path towards goal on the sprint. Speed going in very bravely. McAllister is there. Gary Speed has picked himself up to get on it again, although Culverhouse wasn't able to do that. And Roger Milford concerned about the state of Ian Culverhouse and how he fell then. But there's no pulling out for Gary Speed. And he won it fairly enough. The game went on. But once it was apparent that Leeds were going to move on to a scoring opportunity, the referee blew to stop the game so that Culverhouse could be checked out. Steve Hodge at the far end of the bench, John McClelland, who another member of the squad, and you can see what tiring work it's been for him. Lovely way to be part of the day. Leeds United through and through. Blades. Now Fleck. Johnson made a good run through the middle. Newman was the second ball that came. If it had gone first time, Johnson would have been onside. Chapman. Now Wallace, but Blades was there first. Goss. Culverhouse seems okay again. Remember, Norwich have only got one outfield substitute that they can use. It's a defender, Colin Woodthorpe. I suppose if they got two outfield players seriously injured, Jerry Payton or Mark Walton would play out. Here's Phillips. Ullathorne. Fox on the far side, dealt with by Dorigo. The second header came from Newsome. Cantona. Anticipated by John Polston. Goss. Fox, who is very fleet of foot. He would have needed to be to try and collect Fleck's attempted return pass. All the gossip during last summer when Leeds were spending money in the transfer market was that the club that knew what it was like in the past to win the championship and be involved in the finishes to major competitions far and wide were going to have a go this year. Well, they've achieved their ambition, and their nerve held so splendidly in the run-in. Cantona. Oh, and Walton. What was he doing then? Speed heads it back. Cantona lines up the shot. And to Mark Walton's relief, it was off target. Walton's only 22. He's still learning his trade. And he's had a long run now since February because Brian Gunn, the first choice, has had a long-term injury, but it looked like on that with some dissatisfaction until it came to Cantona, who bailed him out by putting the shot wide. And as you could see, Walton was already apologising. When we look at reasons for Leeds edging Manchester United, the number of extra matches that Leeds played in cup ties, significantly less than the Old Trafford list. It's a long throw from Batty. Chapman, Polston has put it behind for a corner, and Leeds are appealing that maybe a hand was used in there. It's a little nervy for Norwich at the moment. They've brought some 900 supporters with them, so they're outnumbered here in that respect by some 30 times to 1. And Wilkinson has come down to the bench. That's the reason for the applause that you're hearing. Dorigo to take the corner. Newsome. It's gone comfortably in the end for Walton. John Newsome, who was a scorer at Sheffield United on the big day last Sunday. Scorer at Sheffield United in that 3-2 success. Newman. Switching the point of attack and very nearly catching John Newsome on the way back to that right-back position. And letting Ullathorne in down the Norwich left. Wallace chasing this one. Culverhouse squeezing it to Fox. Fleck and Goss through the middle for Norwich. Fox again. Batty. Not back by speed. Cantona. Now Newsome. Oh, and Phillips has given it straight to McAllister. Chapman involved as well, off the head of Blades. Cantona hits it, and pretty crisply too. Well, he might not speak the language too well, but he certainly knows the vocabulary of this particular game. Speed. Cantona again. McAllister. Great stuff from Leeds. Wallace just have to check back. He's got Cantona inside him. Stopped by Phillips as a corner. It is now time for the tricks and the flicks. Fairclough, who scored an important goal here earlier in the month against Coventry. It's come off the head of Wallace as he jumped with Goss, and it's a goal kick. Much was made of Manchester United's greater resources despite Howard Wilkinson's venturing into the transfer market. He's not too happy with what he's seeing so far, is it? You wouldn't believe that they've just won the championship. Old habits die hard. They want to win this match as well. But in fact, although Howard Wilkinson's resources less than Alec Ferguson's, he had to keep picking the same team. It bound these players together so tightly that they were strong in all circumstances at the vital stages over the past few weeks. Just one major lapse when they lost 4-0 at Manchester City. That day they couldn't have believed that this day, in all its glory, would have happened. Polston put under pressure by Wallace. The crowd trying to get the wave going. Batty's throw. Chapman. That's a good try by Fairclough. Having a volley under pressure. Chris Fairclough, whose contract is up at the end of this season, and they still haven't struck a deal for next season, although one would expect that to happen. And now, well, shades of the World Cup at Ellen Road. There's a little pocket of Leeds supporters, of Norwich supporters rather, on the far side. We'll see whether they join in as the wave goes on towards them now. And yes, all credit to those who've come from Carrow Road. Johnson, Fleck. Whyte's header. And the Leeds free kick. Cantona. That's wrong footing McAllister. Now Fox. Well, the players not really worrying here about having to stimulate the crowd, which is so often the case. They're enjoying themselves, whatever's going on out in the middle. Speed. Combined challenge by Johnson and Jeremy Goss. Here's Fleck, 4 up for Norwich. Johnson, Culverhouse making it 5 on the right. Here he is. Fleck. Well, maybe he was just trying to chip it over Lukić. Certainly he didn't pan out that way. And Lukić hadn't strayed too far from home. 20 minutes gone. Leeds United 0, Norwich City 0. Cantona. Well, Norwich applying themselves as you would expect. They're not sure who their new manager will be. It could be either one of two gentlemen who are standing outside the dugout now. David Williams and Mike Walker. David Williams nearer the camera, who is in charge today. Mike Walker, who's also on the coaching staff, just masked at the moment, the silver-haired gentleman. Or it could be somebody from outside the club. We must wait and see. Chapman making Lukić work hard, but he's enjoyed the opportunity to show off his juggling skills. Ullathorne. Batty. England's number one is the cry for Lukić. The number one at the other end, Mark Walton, is there in front of Wallace. Lukić, incidentally, was on a long list of players selected to go to Moscow. He's appreciating the support he's getting. To go to Moscow with England in midweek. The Leeds contingent were pulled out of that party. And Lukić, there's been a lobby for his inclusion. We'll have to wait for another day. Leeds have got Steve Hodge and Gordon Strachan warming up. Both of them, in fact, are injured. Hodge has got a damaged ankle. Strachan, as I say, has been afflicted by this problem of sciatica, which affects the lower back. Well, Howard Wilkinson has given them the chance to be a part of today. They've earned the right. Ullathorne. Now Newman, handball. Free kick to Leeds. Rob Newman in his first season in the First Division after some long and distinguished service with his previous club, Bristol City. Norwich have pulled everyone back behind the ball. Just past the halfway mark in the first half. Lofted up by Dorigo. Batty. Whyte trying the back heel. Dorigo telling McAllister to get out of the way. Will it come for Chapman? It does. Just in front of Wallace there at a crucial time for Norwich was Blades. Newsome. Cantona. That's a great touch. Chapman with lots of time. Oh, to walk on towards goal. Lee Chapman for Leeds. He was trying to put it onto the foot of Speed, but the room he was given was all down to the touch by Cantona. And then Chapman kept going. Walton cut it out. It is an entertainment, and in Eric Cantona is an exceptional entertainer on view. Speed. Swept by Newman. Three in a line, caught offside. Roger Milford lets the game go on, and Walton using the chance to clear quickly. Phillips trying to bend to the outside of the right foot to Fox. Wallace. Now Speed. Wallace again was a bit lucky then. I think he might have been trying to play it back to Speed, but on he goes. He's made his own luck. Rodney Wallace. What an outstanding goal on an outstanding day for Leeds United. A goal really in keeping with the carnival. We've had 25 minutes. And another memory for Leeds United on the last day of the season. Rodney Wallace goes it alone, and there was nothing that Norwich could do about it. Wallace, who has this individual ability and the acceleration to go with it, and a shot there across Walton that has lifted the spirits, which were high enough at the start here, sky high. Well, when the chairman, Leslie Silver, gave the money to Howard Wilkinson to go into the transfer market, Rodney Wallace was on the list of those the manager wanted. He was attracted here from Southampton, and although his type of player at his age will give you one or two bad days as well as the good ones, there's so much more to come from Wallace. Leeds United 1, Norwich City 0, and the party well and truly underway. Whyte. Wallace cutting in again. Still Wallace. It's gone out. All credit to Roger Milford, a referee who's already, in terms of the age of officials, in overtime. He kept up extremely well to make the ruling here. In fact, it was that last touch, I think, that off the knee of Wallace that carried it behind. Dorigo's header. So much admiration in the game for what Leeds United have achieved. To challenge the Arsenals, the Liverpools, the Manchester Uniteds, the clubs that have been competing regularly over the past decade for major honours, take some doing. And Howard Wilkinson has done it in in a way that has led to no detractors. Here's Newman though for Norwich. Goss. Fleck. They would have preferred the ball coming a little lower. Newsome. McAllister, 3 up for Leeds. Speed. Wallace away on the left. Cantona. As you'd expect, Leeds have been able to enjoy some of the fruits of their labours over the past few days, but they've had some hard training sessions as well. And they're determined here not to let the season end on a disappointing note, far from it. Fairclough. Fairclough again. Whyte. Dorigo, all Norwich can do is drop off, hoping to make an interception as the ball gets closer to the edge of their penalty area. And they haven't been able to do that because Culverhouse, and he's not very pleased with the decision, has been penalised. McAllister just checking that it was a free kick and not a throw. Half an hour gone. Clipped in by McAllister and beyond Chapman, who was hoping maybe that it would drop his way at the near post. Blades. Chapman's barring the way back to the goalkeeper, so Norwich have got to play their way out. This is the type of football that they were playing with a lot more confidence earlier in the season. Then for a while they adopted a more direct approach, using bigger strikers. Fox. Oh, Lukić got there. For a moment it looked as though Fleck might get across the line of the ball. Lukić with a long look at Chris Fairclough. Well, it looks as though Wilkinson has got some boots there. If one of his team wants to change, I'm sure the manager would like to get on and wear them himself, particularly when 1 or 2 mistakes are being made. Fairclough, now speed. Batty. Wallace looking for a ball over the top. Batty had other ideas. The header from Jeremy Goss. Newsome's attempted cross cleared by Blades with the sun in his eyes. Wasn't an easy header, although he was always going to be first to the ball. It's David Batty who needs the change of footwear. And this is going to happen while the ball is in play. Newsome hurls it in. Whyte. Had McAllister just to his right. Couldn't ease the ball to him. And Batty at the moment, I think, has got 1 boot on and 1 off. Goss. Fox. Now Johnson. And David Batty. Well, when you're champions, anything you do seems to come off. With the stocking foot did the trick, and the boot is actually in the other half of the pitch. And David Batty's got to go and try and locate it now. He's on his way across. I think he could be assured today that the opposition weren't actually going to find their eyes lighting up with a chance to maybe get their own back on David Batty, who's put 1 or 2 hard tackles in against every team in the First Division. But He's armed again. "12 minutes to go to half-time. Leeds United 1, Norwich City 0. Phillips. Fleck showing for it well and trying to guide it on to Ullathorne. Well, Phillips has trod on the ball and didn't really recover. In fact, it flew off Wallace and Chapman was offside. Culverhouse, the captain. Fox. Norwich moving well off the ball in support of Polston, who gets past Batty. Oh, Fox slipped, so too did Dorigo. There are some balloons on the pitch. And no one seems to mind on a day when Cantona was allowed to start the game, unusually wearing a number as worn always by substitutes. When Norwich City use as one of their substitutes, or have available one of their substitutes, a reserve goalkeeper. One way or another, all of us here will remember today. Leeds looking for a second at this free kick. Dorigo. Newman not taking a chance that might have been given as a corner. It'll be a throw to Leeds. Batty first across to take it. Chapman. Whyte with those long legs of his. Batty nipped in. McAllister. Out come Norwich. Dorigo trying to get it back really where it had come from, towards Batty. McAllister. Wallace. Cantona. Stopped by Fox. Here's Goss. Newman for Phillips. It's a good run ahead of him by Goss, and Fleck coming in behind him. Well, Robert Fleck is a master at making space for a shot when he's that close to the opposing goal. Stocky with a low centre of gravity and a fine awareness of angles and where defenders are. In fact, as Phillips rolled it forward, it came behind Jeremy Goss, but Fleck had anticipated that. And the outcome is a corner to Norwich. Here's John Polston. Fox plays it back in, easy for Fairclough. Retrieved by Jeremy Goss, who's certainly had the best season of his career. Oh, Blades recovered his balance and his composure. Fleck. They line it up for Goss, blocked by Wallace. Blades. Had he been able to get the ball across a little quicker a moment or so ago, well, the game might have been level by now. Newman. Hoping that Johnson had gone forward there. He started to make that move, realised that he would have gone offside. Newman saw the outset of the run, but not when it was checked. The disappointment of Norwich City, who've never reached an FA Cup final and had such a great opportunity this season when they got through to the semi-final against a second division side. Although Sunderland had claimed first division scalps along the way, I'm sure Norwich were expecting that they wouldn't be the next one. That's the way it turned out on a day at Hillsborough, when the Norwich management would say that the team just didn't measure up. No complaints about defeat, but the ramifications of it have been serious. And I think really making up the mind of Dave Stringer that someone else should be in charge for next season. Wallace. Leeds can't wait for next season to start, with the prospect of playing in the European Cup. But until it does, they really can bask in considerable glory. Johnson, Fleck, now Fox. Johnson is in the centre, Fleck on the ball. And Fox. Is it going to be a shot here from Johnson? Well, he didn't really fancy it. He was, in the end, trying to return the ball where there was no angle and no space to manufacture a little pass in behind Leeds. But in their neat and methodical way, Norwich are enjoying a good spell at the moment, with 5 minutes to go to half-time. Speed happy to clear. Leeds recognising that Norwich are getting a greater share of the ball. Getting back in numbers. Whyte. Fleck. He's not bashful when it comes to shooting. He did have a player to his right, Fox, and he's just probably saying there, well, it was worth a crack, wasn't it? Newman. Fox. Phillips pushing on now down the left-hand side. Norwich don't have a great deal of height in the centre for the crosses. Culverhouse, who's kept going well. Now Fox. Leeds are determined that their day won't be ruined by any Norwich initiative. Speed. And there was a bit of pushing by Chapman in any case. The ball ran through to Walton. Chapman, when he came here and Leeds were in the second division, surely couldn't have expected what has unfolded. 7 of the present squad won medals as champions of Division 2 2 years ago. Here's Goss, well found by Fleck. And Dorigo steers him out of harm's way. Jeremy Goss came through the ranks with Norwich. He was in a successful youth team that won the FA Youth Cup. That was some 9 years ago now. It looked as though he'd never make himself a regular in the senior side, but he's done it and been widely praised for his unselfish work this season. A header from Culverhouse. Dorigo. Cantona. Now Speed. Newman. Phillips. Again, Norwich moving off the ball to help the player in possession. And Leeds just going through a spell where I don't think they feel greatly threatened, but they've taken their own foot off the accelerator. Whyte. Culverhouse. The crowd calling for a last effort for Leeds in the first half. Certainly a team success for Leeds United, and we should mention nearest the camera Mick Hannigan, Howard Wilkinson's assistant, and just bending down at the far end of the bench, the physiotherapist Alan Sutton. Look like a pair of twins there. Wallace. Chapman had gone down, off the ball. Cross from Newsome. That's Newman. Walton needs to be more decisive with his punch then than he was at the outset of the match. And Fox, who enjoys the chance of performing a la Rod Wallace. There's plenty of similarity between the two of them, but he looks for Fleck! Oh, marvellous stuff by Lukić. That's what he's been doing, game in, game out, all season. And Robert Fleck must have felt here, after all the early running had been made by Rule Fox, Fleck must have felt that he got Norwich level. Aiming for the far corner, he would have found it, but Lukić was superb. Here's Phillips. Newsome's header. Wallace. They won't catch him if he gets away, and Newman knew that if he was going to intervene, he'd have to do it in that stride. And he managed it in the nick of time. Well, those who have been pursuing the claims for John Lukić to catch the attention of Graham Taylor, the England manager, have more evidence there. Dorigo, who has achieved that level and might be England's first choice left back in Sweden if Stuart Pearce, who's had a knee problem, doesn't recover in time. Concern over the Nottingham Forest captain. It's the end of a first half in which the celebrations were illuminated by Rodney Wallace. A solo burst, a dagger into the heart of Norwich City. Norwich start the second half. They've not scored in their previous 6 away games, although they must have thought when Robert Fleck let fly just before half-time that that particularly embarrassing statistic might be behind them. They've got to put it behind them if they're going to get anything from this final match of the season against the champions. Lukić perhaps coming 5 yards further than he would have done if there'd been more riding on the result today. Cantona. That was trotted out by Phillips. Kept in by Culverhouse. Batty. Leeds were fourth last season when they set off so well, and at the turn of the year were challengers just as they were this season. But last year they lost 12 games, 9 of them over the second half of the season as they fell away. This season just 4 defeats, all of them in away games. At Crystal Palace, at Oldham, at Queen's Park Rangers and at Manchester City. Fleck lets it run. Goss had anticipated just such a manoeuvre. More indication of the resolve of Norwich here. Much of the clouds over them in recent weeks have been lifted simply by the fact that they just accumulated enough points in the earlier months of the season to be able to withstand this fall from grace at the run-in. McAllister, Wallace ahead of Phillips. Problems for Norwich. Batty taking Newman with him. Leeds in the second half attacking their renowned cop end. And Dorigo might find the net just in front of the thousands of the most partisan of Leeds followers. But he was just a little late on parade. Cantona. Now Fleck. Johnson trying to get up with him. Fox on hand as well. And now Goss. Norwich continue to knock the ball around nicely. Goss. Well, they'll have to do better than that to beat this commanding Leeds United goalkeeper, John Lukić. Cantona allowed to turn. There's no one wide on the right. Chapman was in that channel that Cantona was looking for. Fleck. Newman. Phillips trying to ease it wide, although it came behind Ullathorne. He was able to keep the ball in play. McAllister inviting Wallace to set off again. Back came Culverhouse with the chest, it seems. Wasn't what Rodney Wallace felt. Up the ball went, and it could easily have been the upper arm then, but it was on the blind side of the referee, and the lines was also on the far side of the field and didn't have a clean view of it. The advantage given to the defender. Culverhouse. Ullathorne. Numbers 2 and 3 combining for Norwich. Ullathorne, an England youth international. Norwich do have to produce from within. They're great developers of talent, and they have to sell them off. Steve Bruce, Michael Phelan at Manchester United, Dave Watson at Everton, Chris Woods now at Sheffield Wednesday, Andy Townsend at Chelsea, Dale Gordon at Rangers in Scotland. The list goes on and on. The players that have been with Norwich, often acquired for reasonably small fees and sold at huge profits. That's the way the club has to survive. Dorigo. Well, Tony Dorigo really is the example football fairy tales do come true. As an Australian boy, he wrote to the clubs in England begging for a trial, so a chance to develop his skills at this level, and Aston Villa gave him the opportunity. He was twice relegated with Villa and with Chelsea, and here he is now as a league champion with Leeds. It's a corner. sure Norwich will feel that they're taking on the might of the crowd now in the second half. Chris Whyte waiting by the near post. Chapman is in there as well. Dorigo just having a look to plot their positions. Whyte, and it very nearly worked for Leeds that time. Carry speed coming in behind Chris Whyte. It was the merest of touches. And then it rather bounced off speed behind for the goal kick. The championship success in terms of hard cap prize money worth £100,000. So much more to be accumulated in season ticket interest for next season, the chance to play in the European Cup, and all the ancillary rights that success brings. That Leeds often use, aiming for Gary's speed and his power in the air, mishit by Whyte. Goss has seized on anything that's come his way. Fleck trying to get loose in the centre. Fox. Rob Newman's arrived as well. Goss, oh, it bounced up a bit high for him. Fleck. And Batty diffuses it all without batting an eyelid. Lukić this time kicks from within the air, kicks it just as far. Speed. Oh, it's missed by Polston. Cantona! Great stop by Walton. Well, it looked tailor-made for Eric Cantona then. He appreciates the save. It was Polston who was very nearly left with egg on his face for this. And Cantona would have expected to get goal number 2, but Walton had other ideas. Chapman missed it, and in the end Blades puts it out of harm's way, and again the sun is a factor when the ball comes in from this side of the pitch, as it will again from Batty's throw. Chapman thinking about a goal for himself then, rather than just helping it on. He should do that, it's his job. We're in the 9th minute of the second half. Leeds United 1, Norwich City 0. Rodney Wallace midway through the first half. Chapman. Oh, and Walton didn't need to stop that, it was passing wide. The real risk was that in going for it, he would push it out to Wallace. It was a very hopeful attempt from Lee Chapman, but it betrayed again the inexperience of Norwich City's goalkeeper, and it's produced a corner for Leeds. A variation on a theme. Dorigo, speed. Dorigo touched it. Wallace has got there. Was he bundled over by Blades? He feels he was. And, well, I think the referee says in those situations, it's a man's game, get on with it. Fairclough trying to do just that. The crowd here, I don't think, will be satisfied until they see a second goal. And Mark Walton can expect to be in the firing line in the time that remains. Goss. Chapman was just backing under the trajectory of the ball, trying to get close to where it dropped, and In the end, his movement made it look even more like a push. McAllister takes the free kick. Oh, Norwich had let Wallace go just for a second. They shut the door in his face after that. Newsome. Wallace. McAllister getting it across early. Newman got the ball stuck under his feet, but only for a second. Fleck. Well, the decision is a corner, which has pulled Leeds up a little short. Fox with the corner, and Lukić, again the absence really of a penalty area powerhouse there for Norwich City. They played earlier this season with Chris Sutton, a 6-foot-plus young striker who's rattled a goalkeeper or two in his short time in the team. He's injured at the moment. McAllister, Cantona, cleared by Ullathorne. Polston. Here's speed. Once again, keeping Tony Dorigo out of harm's way. Showing the thrust that he can provide down the left-hand side. Player known here as Oz, for his Australian background. McAllister. Chapman, it's not an easy one to turn goalwards, but again, Lee Chapman in particular wants to finish with a goal alongside his name. Newsome, who also came last summer from Sheffield Wednesday in a most unheralded transfer, but he's looked very much one for the future for Leeds United. And at Sheffield Wednesday, of course, by Howard Wilkinson, who previously managed that club. Batty. The place would go absolutely wild if he scored today. But he's in fact penalised for doing what he does do more regularly than score goals, and that's going to try and win the ball. Johnson. Still really hard to take in that Leeds are the champions. As recently as 2 weeks ago, all the cards seemed to be in the hand of Manchester United, but they played them wrongly. And Leeds won the trick, won the title. Free kick Norwich. Oh, and Speed has done expertly in that situation, a ball dropping behind him to pull it out of the air. Cantona, he's got strength to go with his skill. Not quite the change of gear that would have taken him clear then. Norwich surrounded him and in the end fouled him. Half an hour left. Chapman, obviously held up by Fleck. Plenty of help for him. David Phillips, who is rather right-footed. Ullathorne, who is more natural on the left-hand side. Phillips. Fleck. Goss. Dorigo, who anticipated that so quickly, had the movement to match the thought. Fox. Fleck. Newman. Batty covered him, and Leeds anxious to make sure that this unbeaten home record in the league this season survives. They, in fact, on this ground, go out of all 3 cup competitions. This to Manchester United, and in the ZDS to Nottingham Forest. For those early exits from the cups, or relatively early, undoubtedly helped keep them fresh. Manchester United played more matches. That's taking nothing away from Leeds as to how they've won the title. The First Division has, this year, as it always has been, a representation of democracy. If you're on top at the end, you deserve to be so. Dorigo. Phillips jumping with Wallace. Newsome in just a little crudely that time. One great difficulty Leeds United have had through the 80s in particular was that there has only really, prior to this time in their history, been one defined glorious chapter. It was a long enough one under Don Revie, but it did make comparisons with those players always difficult for the generations that came after them. It's before the final whistle, and Steve Hodge almost on cue. Newsome. Lovely tricking Ullathorne. Cantona in great control. Wallace. Now Batty. Leeds just, you feel at the moment, needing to find a little bit of extra motivation. And you can't blame them for any shortcoming in that respect. They're leading this game. That could change. They're leading the league. That can't change. Chapman trying to show his commitment by charging in there in case there was a back pass and falling flat on his face. Ullathorne. Johnson calling for an early cross. It's come rather behind him and not close enough to Fleck, and coped with easily by Chris Whyte. Whyte and Fairclough. Although Fairclough did miss a section of the season with injury, they have been as good as you'll find in the First Division, in the centre of the defending. The problem has been over the last couple of months at right back, where all sorts of players have been pressed into service since Sterling's injury, like Speed and McAllister. And Tony Dorigo is, as you can see, more comfortable on the left-hand side. Look at that. Batty. Speed making space for him. Newman able to make Batty run the ball out of play. Ullathorne. Now Goss. This could be a little alarming for Leeds. Goss, although he had teammates up with him, it really wasn't a player that he could find once he carried the ball that far forward. Fleck. Newman. Whyte climbs. McAllister will have to do likewise. Here's Cantona. Wallace wanting it over the top. And Norwich defending with sufficient depth there to make sure that Wallace had to make up too much ground. Culverhouse. Well, as the final whistle approaches, there's still some 23 minutes to go, but as we get nearer and nearer the end of Leeds season, I'm sure every pass will be olayed, and the players will then go off to have a sip of champagne and then, as we understand, come back out again for a lap of honour with their trophies. Dorigo's throw. Fleck. Well, I don't think there's any great risk of Norwich City conceding goals into double figures, which would threaten their place in the First Division. The draw that they got last week against Wimbledon was enough, barring a mathematical freak, to ensure their place in the new Premier League next season. McAllister. Jeremy Goss really has typified their attitude here. He always says he's a player with more will than skill, and he knows he has to keep running, and this on a very warm afternoon, to justify his place in the side, and he's kept running really from the start of the season right to the end here. Culverhouse. Oh, and he was pressed by Wallace. Chapman was actually barring the back pass. Culverhouse, whether he was thinking of bending the ball past him, but he got into trouble. The flag is up for offside. Cantona puts it into the cup in any case. But Culverhouse was playing a very dangerous game. But as Cantona received the ball, the flag went up. Mark Walton, whose career has been greatly helped by Mike Walker, just behind David Williams there. Walker, a former Wales under-23 goalkeeper and the father of the current Tottenham goalkeeper, Ian Walker. It's a lovely touch by Fleck to Ullathorne. Again, Goss got into the middle. When you see him make these sort of runs, it's surprising that he's only scored once in the league this season. Chapman, who can look clumsy, and on that occasion did, but he got away with it. And what an effective attacking weapon he is, even though his style is perhaps not quite Cantona's. Goss. Up comes Phillips. He's been a very solid professional down the years for Plymouth and Manchester City and Coventry, where he won the FA Cup. Goss, onside this time. Fleck up with him. Did well to beat Lukić from there. Speed. Cantona, flipping it over Polston for Wallace. Just a little too tight for Leeds. And then again, a free kick given against Batty. "20 minutes left of the First Division season. Rodney Wallace, who supplied the only goal of this particular afternoon. 14 in all from Wallace in his first season in the colours of Leeds United. He's been particularly effective in away games, where he can catch opponents on the break as they try to take the game to Leeds. Leeds have had some amazing wins on their travels. 6-1 at Sheffield Wednesday. He's scored 4 at Aston Villa, 4 in a cup-tie at Everton, 4 at Southampton in the league. Just the 1 goal today. And it's enough so far to edge them towards 3 more points. Wallace has kept it in. Walton rather fidgeting from one foot to another. Roger Milford not construing that as extra steps. The chase is on between Newsome and Ullathorne. Roger Milford wasn't too sure then. He looked across at his linesman for guidance. The linesman certainly wasn't going to give a corner. And I think the referee there just thanking his linesman for the help. Howard Wilkinson, who is a trained teacher, and it's this combination of I guess discipline from his teaching days, of course a former professional player with Sheffield Wednesday and Brighton. Combination of the academic side and the football knowledge that has made him such an outstanding manager. Certain to be named as Manager of the Year. Goss, not quite as close as it first looked. Jeremy Goss was born in Cyprus, in fact. Gave him a British passport, which allowed him to be qualified for Wales as an international player. Well, supporters cry champions, champions throughout the season when a team performs well, but these fans are entitled to cry it now. Leeds United are champions. Whyte. Blades. I don't think Culverhouse wanted it there, but he managed to get it back to Blades. Ullathorne, Phillips. He really would like to play in the middle of midfield, but Norwich never seemed to give him the opportunity to operate there. Some good times there, particularly with Manchester City, where his powerful shooting brought him a tally of goals into double figures in one very profitable season. He's moving into the middle now. And that's an excellent pass. Culverhouse trying to get it across quickly, but even if he had done, I don't think there was a great deal of reaction from his colleagues. Batty. You do feel now the scene is set for Leeds if Norwich start to tire. They put a lot into the game. McAllister wants to get the shot in as he was challenged, and it's the expected change for Leeds. They're going to bring on both Hodge and Strachan for the final 15 minutes. They're taking off Cantona and Chapman. Gordon Strachan, who has led with that type of driving personality. He's led by example as well. And he gets the armband back from Batty. Sometimes captains who are substitutes settle for staying that way when they come on. One thinks of Gary Lineker recently, twice with England coming from on the bench and not getting the armband. But Strachan says, I'm in charge. I have been since the days towards the bottom of the second division, and he's played his part in driving them to the top. He's eager, he's alert, his back might be aching, but he wants a cameo here to sum up the Leeds United season. Dorigo. Newman, offside. The referee hasn't seen it actually, the linesman flagging. Really it was Steve Hodge's old pals at Nottingham Forest who did Leeds such a good turn by winning at Manchester United on Easter Monday. And I know Steve Hodge is particularly grateful for that success by his old club. Fleck hoping the ball would run beyond Whyte. Well, Norwich have kept at it and should be praised for that. They've had a calamitous end to the season, really finishing in Dave Stringer's resignation, and that's very much what it was. The manager has chosen to go rather than being asked to leave. Batty. Wallace. Blocked by the body of Blades. Fox. Pressed by Hodge. Well, Steve Hodge finally had got the ball, but he couldn't keep it in play. Norwich City are going to bring on Colin Woodthorpe. A straight swap for Ullathorne. .11 minutes to go. Woodthorpe, who comes from Merseyside, was signed from Chester. Fairclough for Strachan. Oh, that's a brilliant pass. Right to the feet of speed. Strachan again. Leeds trying to lift it now. McAllister. Knocked out by Blades. Whyte. I think even if he was 100% fit, Gordon Strachan wouldn't have reached that. Colin Woodthorpe on for Norwich, so if there's another injury to an outfield player, Jerry Payton, the goalkeeping reserve, the second substitute, will have to come on and maybe enjoy himself as an outfield player for a minute or two. Remember, Norwich playing very safe in their selection just in case Walton was injured or picked up a red card, as goalkeepers can do so easily with the change in recent regulations. Not the first side to have done it. I remember West Ham doing it a couple of years ago on the final day of the season. Dorigo. It's all right of Strachan. Newsome. McAllister. Leeds varying their approach now without Chapman to provide the height in the centre. Whyte. Tidied up by Goss. Well, as Howard Wilkinson says himself, he doesn't know what possessed the Leeds United chairman, Leslie Silver, to pay out millions to get Leeds back in the big time. But the chairman's gamble has paid off, and Leeds now really wanting to finish on a high. Strachan, that would be a high. He hasn't scored A goal now since the early weeks of the season. In fact, he hasn't scored a goal from free play all season. All 4 of his efforts have been from the penalty spot. But he's made plenty. Wallace. Blocked by Goss, who's been everywhere. Stop by Walton, hammered back across the face of the goal by Wallace, and it would have been a tap-in if a Leeds player could have read the angle of the cutback, but Gary's speed, again his expertise in the air, and we saw just before half-time a wonderful save by Lukić, and Mark Walton has matched that from Gary's speed. Well, he's only 22, and once or twice we've seen the youthfulness of him, but that's why Norwich City have stuck with him as the replacement for the injured Brian Gunn over the second half of their season. Fleck. Batty, as he was clumsily caught by Newman. One thing about David Batty, he'll take it as well as dish it out, and it could look at the start of his career as though indiscipline might hold him back, but he's curbed his instincts well. Newsome. Strachan. Newman in the way. Norwich, I don't think would be too disappointed to leave Ellen Road just losing by 1 goal. There might be more than that for them. Johnson. Now Fox. Johnson supporting him on the outside. Goss and Fleck in the middle. And Woodthorpe at the back post. Corner. We'll certainly miss the referee, Roger Milford, if this is his final game. The referees who are over age already have to wait until the summer to know whether they're going to be kept on. That's Fairclough. Phillips looked very keen to get to that one, to try and fire in a shot. Fox is out. The attendance here, 32,673. And while you could count maybe the 673 who've come from East Anglia, the rest are Leeds United through and through. Speed. Here's McAllister. Wallace. Already there will be thoughts as to how Leeds go forward from here. One does feel that Gordon Strachan's days, sadly, might be drawing to an end as a regular player. At 35, it's amazing that Strachan has kept going. Batty. And Strachan puts his fitness down to a diet of pasta and good old-fashioned Scottish porridge. Keep the carbohydrate levels up. Dorigo. Hodge. Fox with a chance now to catch Leeds out at the last. Plenty of teams have tried to do that this season, very few have succeeded. Oh, and Strachan, superb. Here's McAllister, it's over Culverhouse, and Wallace, can he get there? Yes! Well done, Rodney Wallace. He's got to wait for those to arrive to help him out. Dorigo. And, well, Strachan isn't quite as quick as he used to be, but he is just as competitive. And he was pointing there to Newsome, who'd left Phillips. Woodthorpe. Phillips again. Only Fox in the centre for Norwich. Goss is there now, having timed his move from midfield. Phillips. Fleck let it run, and I think Woodthorpe might have called him, but then got out of the way, waiting by its reaction. Wallace, one last effort is it for Leeds. They don't really need it, but they'd love to do it. Dorigo. "90 seconds plus stoppage time." Dorigo. Hodge is offside. Well, it all started here on August the 20th with a home win over Nottingham Forest. That was by 1-0 as well. Gary McAllister made sure of the first 3 points. It was nip and tuck with Manchester United for so long. Oh, Roger Milford threatening to reach for the yellow card for Steve Hodge, who was stopping the free kick being taken. And I think the message there is, do you really want to end your season with a booking after so much good has been done? It takes talent and tenacity to win a championship. It takes drive and determination when things go wrong, when injuries occur. It takes something special, there's no doubt about that. Particularly when 2 years earlier you were managing a second division club, as Leeds were then. But you have to hand it to Howard Wilkinson and his players, and the party will go on and on here tonight. Leeds finishing on a winning note thanks to Rodney Wallace, and completing their superb season unbeaten here at Ellen Road in the First Division. Norwich go back to East Anglia looking for a new man at the helm to make sure that there's no repeat of their drop in standards. Just 1 point from their final 8 games of the season. Leeds will measure themselves for the challenge of next season's championship in the new Premier League. Staying on top is even more difficult than getting there. No one knows that better than Howard Wilkinson. But for now, it's time to savour the success. For Howard Wilkinson, his staff and his players, it's their finest hour. Leeds United are worthy champions. Norwich have gone across to say their farewells for the next few months to their travelling band, and now their players add to the handshakes for Leeds United. Well, they've had to go and get the trophy. It's David Batty. But it shows the sporting nature of the afternoon. Norwich, who push Leeds all the way in their 42nd and final league fixture, but they couldn't stop them winning again. The lap of honour is about to start. Mel Sterland joins the posse, as he's really entitled to do. The rampaging right back who's missed the last 10 games with injury. That's left a void that Leeds found hard to fill, but fill it they've done. And off go the champions to the four corners of their particular world. Everyone wants to reach out and touch, but let's hope they don't too much, because if they do, the lap won't be completed. Chris Whyte given another chance really by Leeds. He started at Arsenal, he was tipped for the top, he's at the top now. So much planning and preparation goes in. It starts pre-season, and however talented the players, they never know how it's going to pan out over this marathon. Chariots of fire, the music of athletic excellence accompanying Leeds United. Gary Speed, what a compliment for Howard Wilkinson to say that if he had to pick out one player for their work over the last 9 months, he would pick out Speed for his versatility and his development. Strachan we know all about, and he's maintained his marvellous standards. A little man with a very big heart and an enormous contribution to the renaissance at Elland Road. One or two supporters haven't been able to curb their enthusiasm, but the vast majority doing what was asked of them, staying behind the barriers and crying from the Kop, off to the fans who just threaten this wonderful occasion. We've all grown up with the stories of Don Revie and the great days here, and they're rightly now part of a legend, but these players now are assured of their place in the archives. And when they talk of Leeds United and what is on the roll of honour, it won't be exclusively now the 60s and the early 70s. They'll talk about 1992 and that wonderful duel with Manchester United, and let's not forget Sheffield Wednesday, who emerged on the rails as major players in the game as well. But one club, and only one, can come out on top. And Leeds United, who put so much into the season that it's not a sprint around Elland Road here. It's a casual stroll. And it's sensible too to take it at that pace, so they will remember in years to come, particularly the young players. John Lukić has had these occasions in the past. Very few players are privileged and indeed talented to win two clubs in a 3-year spell. Lukić who started with Leeds, then went to Arsenal when it went wrong for him at Ellen Road, but has returned in triumph. Anyone who's ever played the game at any level will know what winning is all about. Well, when you win at this level, it's intoxicating. And they're on a high now, Leeds, and they haven't needed a glass of champagne to set the pulses racing. That will come later. What do I mean, a glass? A gallon or two. It's all been earned. The Barclays Trophy to go with the Grand Old Trophy itself, the League Championship Trophy in this, the last year of the Football League, as it has been for more than 100 years.